Hello, you guys. Hello to Lynn, Muffin Top, Single Mom, Farmer, Amber, Pointer Lover, Yenny, Johnny, um, Rumple, Muffin Top. And did I miss anybody? I hope I didn't. But anyways, I want to go ahead and get started. I know I usually let that music go for a minute. Hey, small town. Don't want to forget you. True crime loving blonde. Hey, Becky. Hey, Bella and Inzantor. So today I have a really exciting guest. We are going to go through the new lawsuit from Gabby Petito's family to Brian Laundrie's family. But first, I want to introduce you to my guest. So I'm going to bring her up, but her name is Jenn Lou, and the mods will be dropping her channel. And if you haven't subscribed over there, please go do that. I think you guys would really love her. But okay, one second. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, night. See, this is awkward. I can't pretend I wasn't just talking to you back.
I know it's weird. It's okay. It's all right.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm excited. I know that you followed the Petito case and kind of talked about it. Did you ever do any videos on it?
No, I never did any videos. Anything I ever did was on a different channel.
Yeah,
I just came up on panel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were kind of talking about. I remember seeing you talk about that, and you said the whole time you were kind of saying you think it's way more simple than what people were making it out to be.
Yeah, I do.
Which I think that's so interesting because it's funny. I mean, the hands in the garden, and he was done out of the country on a canoe in the Appalachian Trail. I mean, it was crazy.
Brian got around more than Flat Stanley, bless his heart. I mean, it was a lot. He was everywhere, man.
Like pictures of him everywhere.
Yeah, he was in Mexico. He was in the Appalachian Trail. He was hiding under a garden in a bomb shelter. Yeah. He was everywhere.
Hey, Canadian Mama, and I could not. Hey, Delaney, I could not, and Stephanie too. That's who I was looking for. I knew I saw one. I wanted to say hi to. I couldn't believe when people thought that he was really in the flower garden, but I don't know. I guess
never could. Okay. I went so far because I try to see where other people are coming from, and there were so many people that were so adamant about the hand that I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it on the TV, right? So I played on the TV, and my nose is like, I'm looking, I'm standing back from it. I'm inching closer. I never saw no damn ass hand. I mean, I saw his mom's hand, but I never saw like anybody else's hand. I never saw any of that. So I never could get it, but you know, what can you do?
I'm so curious to see what you think about some of these claims about, maybe his parents knowing or, planning on helping him get out of the country and stuff, which I guess we'll get into that. I haven't actually looked at it myself until we're going to pull it up right now. So I've just listened to other people read through it.
Me too. I haven't. I was going to do it the other night on my show, and then I got distracted probably by snacks or something shiny. And I was like, oh, okay. Then we started talking about something. Oh, I know what it was. We started talking about the new Scream movie because it's on Paramount Plus. And that got me completely derailed and it was just, I was just a night where I was just just shooting the stuff, I wasn't like having an actual topic. It was just a chill night.
Oh, I love Paramount Plus though. That's a good little streaming service. It's not expensive and they have a lot on there.
They do.
Okay, well,
they have all the Scream movies. So, I don't know. You probably don't know, Alex, but most people know that I can't just watch. I couldn't just start with number 5. No. I had to spend the entire day watching 1 through 5 because in case I forgot what the storyline was about.
That's so funny. So Scream 5 is on there? I haven't even. Oh, I got to watch that.
Yeah, it's.
I just feel like I have to see it because I grew up watching Scream and it was like part of like my journey to adulthood or whatever.
Yeah, I had to watch them all too. I watched every single one of them. I sure did. Mm-hmm.
That's so funny.
I've seen them multiple times. I've never binged it quite like that, but yeah, multiple. Okay. By the end of it, I was like, I'm done with Sydney. I don't even like her. I was over it.
Over all you guys. I don't ever want to see Scream again. Well, yeah, that's
Mm-mm.
probably like 9 hours, 10 hours of
It was a
Scream.
lot. It was a lot. I mean, I took breaks, like I had to do the dishes and, I had to clean the house and stuff like that. I didn't binge it straight through, but yeah, it was quite a while.
Well, my oldest son, he's 13, and he recently started talking about Ghostface. I guess it was, kids at his school were talking about it. So I let him watch some of the Scream stuff. My youngest son, I know he's only 5, but he's like obsessed with Pennywise, Freddy Krueger. He loves scary stuff. He loves creepy stuff. Five Nights at Freddy. But my oldest son is like The Walking Dead scares him. So I was really surprised when he wanted to get into Scream.
Wow. Aw. I love horror. It's my favorite. I don't watch like rom-coms. I watch comedies, but I'm never going to watch like I have like a couple of go-to like chick flicks. Steel Magnolias is a go-to of mine. I have a few, but for the most part, if I don't want a love story, if it's not a love story entangled in like an apocalyptic type of thing where they're fighting off
Yeah.
zombies, the world is about to end, the world has ended, there's vampires, yeah, something like that, then,
Yes.
I'm fine. But if you're just straight love story, no, I find those to be boring and unrealistic.
Yes. That's how I am too. I want to watch the gruesome, whether it's even the true stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really into all that, which I guess we all kind of are.
Yeah, that's true.
Um
That's true.
but yeah, okay, let's see. I pulled up Brian Enton's Twitter because he kind of has the whole lawsuit on there. So I don't know. Let's see.
You know how you were asking yesterday if you had an echo? So,
Yeah.
when you just went to share your screen, if you go back to that same spot, instead of choosing to share the whole screen, if you choose share tab, you'll
Yeah.
never echo.
Oh, wow.
You don't have to share your whole screen like that. You can just share a Chrome tab or a tab. I don't know what kind of computer you have. See where it says share screen right there? If you click that,
Uh-huh.
click it, and it should say share tab.
Well, let me do this. I'm going to stop it
Yeah.
and then do it again. It says share video file. Oh, did I? No, I removed it. Share screen and then entire screen window or
Window.
Microsoft Edge tab.
There you go, just like that. That's all you got to do.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. Then you won't echo and you don't have to worry about showing your whole entire screen.
Okay, thank you.
You
Should
are
I?
so
I'm not even going to
welcome.
share the audio on this one because why would I? We're not really. I
We
don't
can
know.
read, last I checked, right? You know how to read. I know how to read. We
Yeah.
should be.
Okay, and then afterwards, just go up here to stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I guess I should read from the beginning, but it's the wording of this. I looked at it right before we come on, and I'm like, do they all start like that? Come now, Joseph Petito and Nicole Smith. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Most of them
Wow.
do. Yeah. Yeah, because they filed it where it's filed in Florida, right? Yeah, because her father lives here in Florida, and the Laundries live in Florida, so it's in Florida, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
Sarasota County.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so this is an action for damages that exceed $30,000, exclusive of prejudgment. And if you have any, just interrupt me, okay?
Okay.
Because I think the first page might be kind of boring, so I'm just gonna read it real quick.
Okay, babe, you do you.
Okay. Venue is proper in Sarasota County, Florida, because the defendants reside therein. This court has jurisdiction over the within matter. The plaintiff, Joseph Petito, is a resident of Vero Beach, Florida. Then Nicole Smith is a resident of New York, and the defendants are residents of Northport, Florida.
So we've established that everything took place and everybody lives except for Gabby's mom, and I think her last name is Schmidt, babe.
What
Not
did I say?
Smith.
I
Smith.
thought I said Schmidt. Okay.
No, it's Schmidt. That's
I was
okay.
reading fast. Okay.
That's okay. One time I was covering the Todd Mullins case, and was looking at Chad, and Recliner Detective was in there, and I said that the recliner, I was looking at it as well as talking about the case, and I said that the recliner fell on her. And yeah, everybody got a good laugh at that, at my expense. I do it all the time.
That's so funny. Okay. um, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito became engaged to marry on or about July 2nd. Do you remember all the talk? Because there was a lot of talk that they kind of called the engagement off. Do you remember her dad saying something about that?
Yes, yes, I do. I
Me
do.
too.
And the only thing I haven't watched is on, oh gosh, is it Paramount Plus? No, I think it's Peacock. Peacock has
Yeah, they have her.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't watch. I started watching it, and then it just got too sad for me, and I couldn't do it anymore.
I haven't
So,
even watched it. I watched like I thought a really good one was that 60 Minutes Australia. They did a couple
mhm.
pieces on it, but like we talked about before, I kind of get like the documentaries, they just don't do it for me these days. I want to go deeper.
Yeah, it's a good place to start if you just
Yeah.
want an overview. But yeah, definitely you definitely have to look further than the documentaries, or even, like the new shows about it, 2020, or, 60 Minutes
Yeah.
or whatever. You definitely, because they're pressed for time.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. On July 2nd, Brian Laundrie and Gabby left New York in a van owned by Gabrielle Petito to take a trip to the western United States, which was expected to last for several months. Prior to the trip, sorry,
All right.
could you see that pop up then?
Uh-uh.
Wow, so cool. Okay.
See, that's why I tell you, share just the tab, and you don't got to worry.
Yeah. It said it was a pop up for Truth Finder, but it's like, have the rest of your report for Donald is waiting. So
Oh boy.
um, prior to this trip, taken by Gabby and Brian, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt,
There you go. You got it.
and Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie had a cordial relationship. I'll make it bigger for us. Gabby had hopes of becoming a travel influencer, a van lifer, and document her cross country travels on social media sites such as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. During the course of the aforementioned trip, Gabrielle and called her family almost daily, including her parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, and her siblings. See, there was a lot of rumors that Gabby had a stressed relationship with her family. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, there were some of that. And the thing of it is it could be true. It could be, it's when you're a parent of an adult child, and you know that there isn't anything you can actually do to stop them from doing something that you think is not a good idea or a mistake. It can create tension and distance, and that's just part of the process. I have adult kids, and I know how it is.
Yeah, I remember when I was like early 20s, me and my parents had a lot of conflict back
Mhm.
and forth because you're just not mature enough to be an adult yet you are.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Let's see. The last communication Gabrielle had with Joseph Petito, her dad, was on August 21st, 2021. The last communication that her mom had with her was on August 27th. Okay, here's where it starts to get where there's things that I know that we'll want to comment on. So it is believed that on August 27th, 2021, Brian Laundrie murdered Gabrielle Petito. The cause of her death was blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. So I remember when the FBI put out their final reports, they did actually mention the blunt force injuries to the head and neck, but it
Mhm.
was buried, under a lot. And I think a lot of people missed that. And I am curious why, when they first released the cause of death, they didn't mention anything about that.
Um, Sometimes that happens. Sometimes, mainly, if I remember right, because it's been a minute and I've had a lot of stuff in my brain since then. I feel like initially when they came out, they were just going to be able to, they were initially just giving a statement about the manner of death. And then after a time, I feel like, I do feel like it wasn't completely and totally talked about. You know, I think people were just, they just wanted to know if she did it to herself or if he hurt her. And once they heard that it was homicide, I think people were satisfied and it didn't really matter. And I think they were also and also I think they were waiting in case of a trial. Remember, because at that point
Yeah,
Brian hadn't been found yet.
that's a
So
good
they
point.
they were keeping some stuff, which is normal, you know,
Yeah.
private, especially the FBI. They're super tight-lipped. They hardly say anything ever. I'm surprised they said the things they did say, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because they don't want to give out details. So they just said, what did they call it? They called her strangulation, some kind of, I forget the way they worded it, but and that was it.
Yeah.
Um Good point. And I honestly wondered. I thought Brian, I thought he might take his own life, but I kind of thought there might be a trial, like maybe he was the narcissistic type 2 that wouldn't kill himself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mm,
I never thought that. I thought right away that, the minute they announced that, hold on, excuse me, that he was missing, I said, he is not alive out there.
mm,
I felt that just from the very beginning because I just felt like, I don't listen. I don't think this was and I'm not talking about the legal term premeditation because everybody knows that premeditated in the legal terms is like it can be a minute. I
right.
don't think this was something that, was planned on his part. What I think happened is I think they were young. I think that they were inexperienced. I think that living the van life, money is will cause even people who have the best relationships, the strongest relationships, the most in love to fight, and it
Yeah.
causes stress. And I think the most likely thing that happened, it was not an accident, but it was an escalation. It's something, a fight that got out of control,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. And I think that, knowing he did it, I think he felt guilt. I think he felt remorse, and I think he took his own life. That's what I think.
Mm. Oh my gosh, I think that you're right. And I just think back to that time that he was around mom and dad before, like the trip that they took and stuff. And I wonder, which I think we'll get there in this,
Hmm.
but still, I just wonder what his behavior was like during that time. But I do think you're right. I think that it was they were probably both guilty of kind of egging it on at times. And I think that also we do hear, you hear things that he may have been having some mental health issues, then
Hmm.
living in a van and like you said, money tight. That's going to cause some serious strain.
Yeah, and when you're young like that, I remember I've been with, my husband since I was 18 years old, and I'm 45 now. So we're going to be
Oh
hitting
wow.
27 years in April. I
Awesome.
never, when I was younger, between like 18 and geez, probably even 30, I never walked away from an argument. I was never the bigger person and never was like, oh, this is not effective communication. This conversation isn't productive. I'm going to dip. No, I would go low. I have a slick mouth. I have a sharp tongue, and I'm not proud of it, but I was young and I didn't really understand what I mean, I knew what I was saying and but I didn't know that, there's better and more effective ways to communicate. And so when you're young, you do that. You're just not experienced, and you tend to continue to engage in the argument, particularly if you're living in a van together. Where the hell are you going to go?
Yeah.
From the front seat to the back? I
Yeah.
mean,
And it was a
like,
little van.
right. What are you going to do? Walk alongside the van for a while? You need a cooling off period. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot of pressure on young, I mean, people who are just young, and your frontal lobe, especially for boys, I think theirs isn't completely and fully developed till they're 25.
It's crazy.
I think for girls it's like 23 or 24. We're a little ahead of them, obviously, but
Yeah.
that's your impulse control and your anger and all of that. So you just don't always make the best decisions.
Yep. It's crazy, but
Mhm.
it's really sad because also to be so young, to be able to save up and, Gabby showed a lot of signs of maturity, to be able to do that, but that doesn't mean she's mature once things get emotional and start going, and you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
still. Oh,
Yeah, the maturity comes from experience. And I admire the fact that she was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. And she absolutely did. And that was a risk, a gutsy risk. And for 22, that's young,
yeah.
and she was fearless in that way. And I think, you know, it took a lot of courage for her to do that. I think who knows what she would have brought this world. That's really the saddest part of all is
Yeah.
that when he took her life, he took her potential for whatever she was going to bring to the world. And that's the saddest part for me, in my opinion
Yeah, it
anyway.
is sad. It's so heartbreaking because she had a lot of special parts to her. You could see that. That
Mhm.
reminded me, though, it's so weird that I recently made a shirt that said "fearless" on it with a butterfly, like one of my tie dyes that I did.
Oh.
That's so crazy. Um, but yeah, you reminded me of that as soon as you said that, and the butterflies always remind me of her.
Mhm. Butterflies are my favorite.
So after number 16 is pretty interesting too, and I had not heard this before. After Brian Laundrie murdered Gabrielle Petito, Brian Laundrie sent text messages back and forth between his cell phone and Gabrielle Petito's cell phone in an effort to hide the fact that she was deceased. Had you heard that?
Yes, I had. And I'll say this, had there been a trial, and Brian Laundrie attempted to try to make it, to give an insanity plea, that number 16 right there would have negated the definition of insanity. If you do anything after the fact to avoid capture, detection, or even avoid the crime being found out, you're not insane. Legally insane. That doesn't mean you can't have mental health issues. It just
Right.
the definition of legally insane.
It
It's
shows
a
that you
little
were sane
different.
enough to cover it up,
Right.
basically.
Exactly. You had your faculties with you to hide it.
I wonder. Oh, I wonder if he would have. I just have so many. You just now it just leaves it. We'll never know so many things, and that is so frustrating for me because I really like to see it play out. I want to see.
Yeah.
I think that that's part of the thing when you follow true crime. You want to see these people be held accountable.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so oh my gosh, why does it keep doing that? On August 27th, it is believed that Brian Laundrie sent a text to Nicole Schmidt in which he referred to Gabrielle Petito's grandfather, Stan, by name. Gabrielle Petito never called her grandfather by his name. What
See,
did you think about
see,
that?
remember? Well, I thought that was a tell. I thought that it made sense that he was attempting to cover up what he had done by pretending that she was still alive, and he screwed up because he was supposed to be speaking as if he were her. And why would she ever call her grandfather by, I mean, I have grandparents. Did you ever call your grandparents by their first government names? I never did. That's
No,
disrespectful. I don't know anybody who does that.
right,
So, you know what I'm saying? And that lends itself to the fact that it's not like he was this mastermind. You know what I'm saying?
right. Do you
He
think he was so shook up, like just like he wasn't thinking straight and he,
I think he was scared. I think he was scared of getting caught. And I think he was ashamed of what he did. I think he was scared of getting caught. And I think that he feared going to prison.
yeah,
I mean, this is not like, a Bundy situation or anything like that. Brian Laundrie was not that level. You know what I
right.
mean? He was
He
just
was
he was a
a kid.
kid.
Yep. I was going to say he was a young kid. Now, I'm not saying, I know he was into dark stuff, and I'm not saying he didn't have mental issues. I think that he obviously was suffering from some kind of, to both of them probably had some anxiety and those kind of things. I don't know how deep that went. But regardless, he was a young kid. And it's very possible that he didn't have any of those issues and he was just as caught up as she was, because a lot of times in these relationships we see the girls also hitting them, and we see at their stop at their when they got pulled over. And I'm not trying to say that, this does not make what he did okay at all I'm saying is that I think that they both probably took part in how it escalated.
Yes, um I think they were young, and I think that they were, just everything that young implies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that, yeah, I agree with you. I think, they were just young and inexperienced, and I think that none of this ever had to happen in the first place. And at the same time, I don't really know what there is that could have been done that could have prevented this. Because let's say, for argument's sake, that rather than separate them for the night, they took one of them to jail. It wouldn't even matter which one, whether they arrested her or they arrested him that night, which they were not going to arrest him, by the way, based on, I mean, it was based on Gabby's own, what she said to them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they would he would have bailed her out, or she would have bailed him out, one or the other, and then they would have gone on their way, and nothing would have changed.
Yeah. We see so often that happens in domestic violence in
Mhm.
relationships. They get arrested and they can't wait to run back to each other.
Mhm.
I do wonder if her parents found out, but they couldn't have done anything from across the country. I mean, it'd be a little different maybe if they were at home, but still, she's an adult across the country. What really could anybody do?
Right. I mean, the only look, if she'd have been arrested that night, probably what would have happened is she probably would have called them, and maybe her mom, or her dad, or both, and her stepdad would have, and her stepmom would have all flown out, and been there to bail her out, and then drive her and the van back home, and Brian could be left to his own devices. But that's just not the way it happened.
Yeah.
But more than likely, I think that I think she would have called them, and I think she would have told them, well, I need help with the bail money, but Brian's here, because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the only way that they would have flown out and over her any objection that she gave was if it was Brian who had been arrested.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then they wouldn't want her left alone out.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just such a tragedy. Okay, I'm gonna move along because
Yeah.
this is really interesting.
Okay. Okay.
It is believed and therefore averred that on or about August 28th, 2021, Brian Laundrie advised his parents, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie, that he had murdered Gabrielle Petito. On that same date, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie spoke with attorney Steve Bertolino, and then they sent him a retainer on September 2nd. I have a question. What do you think about this part? Because to me, this isn't the police writing this. We have to remember it's comes from Gabby's side of the family. I wonder, how do they know this? That on the same day, that Chris and Roberta spoke with him, and how do they know that the retainer was paid on September 2nd?
Um,
Will they have to prove it?
they would have to prove it.
I thought so.
Likely, the way they know this is, at this point in the investigation, during this specific time period, the law enforcement was likely communicating with the family, because, when let's see, she was not found until what, the end of September, right?
Yeah, and she was reported missing, I believe, on September 11th,
Yes.
officially.
Yes. So I would imagine that during the course of of investigation and the interviewing process that was happening, with respect to the family, by the FBI and then just local law enforcement, they probably found that stuff out just through that natural course.
Right. So it's got the information probably comes from law enforcement, and therefore, if they have to, anything they put in this, they have to show proof of. Right?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
they do. Now, I will say this. For a civil case, the burden of proof is much lower, okay? It isn't beyond a reasonable doubt. It's lower.
Oh,
And yeah. So because it's civil. So but it's not zero.
right.
So, I mean, they would have to prove this, and I would imagine that also on number 18, as far as the retainer goes, maybe they subpoenaed something. Maybe they know it. And also you have to remember that Stephen Bertolino was acting as the family's attorney for law, whenever law enforcement wanted to speak to them, and law enforcement probably was told when they retained him.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? It was on the second.
Mhm. It
Is,
is.
is that when he came home? It's around, let's see, on the first, he returned to the home. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, okay. On August 30th, 2021, Brian Laundrie sent a text message from Gabby's phone to her mom stating there was no service in Yosemite Park in an effort to deceive Nicole into believing that Gabrielle was still alive. On September 1st, he returned to the home of his parents, driving Gabrielle Petito's van. Okay, I got to pause here and ask you, do you remember, and I wish I could see chat, but I'll come back to it. But do you remember when you heard about her being missing?
Mhm.
And then when you heard that he had the van at his home, what did you think?
Oh, I thought he heard her right. I thought that he murdered her. Absolutely right. I did. Because
Yeah,
otherwise,
me
why would
too.
you drive back with her van and not her?
Yeah, across the country. That was for me
Correct.
too. That was the biggest
Because the
red
thing
flag.
is he flew home and then he flew back out, remember?
Yeah.
So if that's why it doesn't make any sense. Because the whole reason he said that he flew out, or we were told, I don't know what he actually said. The whole reason he left, he came back and then he left again. And the whole reason he left again was to help her drive the van back.
Yeah. Yep, he flew. Oh gosh, that I remember all the drama around that too. I wish
Hmm.
that we could get some, maybe through this lawsuit we'll get some kind of clear and uh
Oh,
clear
there will
answer
be.
on that.
Oh, there will be. There will be. The parents will be deposed and everything, all of these records, their cell phone records, their financial statements, all of the communications, all of the things will be subpoenaed. The only thing that they will never be able to know for sure, because it's under attorney client privilege, is, um, uh, well, this is complicated because I don't know how the contract with Bertolino worked. I don't know if he was representing only Brian Laundrie or if he was representing Brian, Roberta, and um, Chris Laundrie.
So what would be the difference?
Well, if he's only representing Brian Laundrie, then Roberta and Christopher have no expectation of attorney-client privilege.
Oh, okay.
So, but if he's representing all three of them, then they do.
So anything Brian told his lawyer, we'll never know.
Correct. Well, this is the other thing. So, see, what gets you out of your attorney-client privilege is death. The client dying, right?
Oh,
So, um, I'm curious to see how this specific part plays out, because if your
wow.
client is no longer alive, then you're not bound by attorney-client privilege.
And then does that mean in court he can be asked about it
He
by,
can. Uh-huh.
oh my God.
He
Wow.
can.
I cannot wait to get some of these answers. It's going to be very
He
interesting.
can, but it depends on, see, this is the interesting part. It seemed to me that Stephen Bertolino was acting in his capacity as an attorney to represent really not Brian. He really seemed to be representing Brian's parents.
Yeah.
And so whatever information um, they told Stephen Bertolino would be privileged information. And I don't think that I I don't think that Brian was his client, and also don't think that I think we know everything he said, everything Brian said to Stephen Bertolino because he told it, which I always found suspicious. If that's your client, why are you talking? Why are you repeating conversations that you had with Brian?
What did he say again? I remember something about
He
him
sent out
being
some texts, remember, and that he spoke on three-way, and that I can't remember now. We'll have to put a pin in this and come back,
okay.
because he did talk about conversations he had with Brian.
And didn't he even say something about him being like in mourning, or he said
Yeah, like he was
grieving?
grieving. Yes, exactly. So,
Oh,
I mean, technically that's not really like, that doesn't violate attorney client privilege, but it's just it's just interesting. I don't think that Stephen Bertolino was we'll have to keep reading. Maybe it'll talk more about it in here, but I don't think that Stephen Bertolino was Brian Laundrie's attorney. I think he was representing his parents. Why would, because he's
interesting.
not a criminal attorney. So if Brian, this is the other part of this that doesn't make sense, what they're alleging, number 18. If it was Brian who told his parents that he murdered Gabby, right? And then that's what it caused them to hire Stephen Bertolino. But Stephen Bertolino, I mean, isn't a criminal attorney. I mean, he can practice criminal law, I suppose, but that's not his specialty. And this is not a case where you would want to pay a retainer to somebody who also handled real estate law. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes. Maybe they just, I guess, wanted him to help lead the way, and maybe later on would have hired. I don't know, but I agree. That's like Lori Vallow. Her attorney's never done a felony case. Like,
Right.
why are you? I don't
Yeah.
know.
This is crazy. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. The next one was okay, after he returned home on September 1st. After this point in time, there was no contact between Joseph and Nicole on the one hand and Christopher Laundrie and Roberta on the other. So between both sets of parents.
Right.
From August 27th, this is sad, for until November or until September 19th, when Gabrielle Petito's remains were found at the Spread Creek dispersed camping area in Wyoming. Plaintiffs were extremely distraught and were attempting to locate Gabrielle Petito. While the Petito family was suffering, the Laundrie family went on vacation to Fort DeSoto Park on September 6th through the 7th. I've always thought that was really interesting. That little vacation, it was almost like a send off in a way.
Yeah. It was.
Um, I do wonder if that's what they had planned, especially with that $20,000 coming out later on. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Okay, so in an effort to avoid any contact with Nicole Smith on Schmidt on or about September 10th, 2021, Roberta Laundrie blocked Nicole on her cellular phone such that neither phone calls nor texts could be delivered, and she blocked her on Facebook. On September 10th, the day before she was officially reported missing. This is the day I think when like the parents really started calling the other parents or something
Mm-hmm.
like that was pointed out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think maybe even the dad, did he try to go down there or something? I know that her dad was the one trying to get in contact with them
I
at that point.
It seems like I remember a confrontation, but but the confrontation was between her father and Brian, if I remember correctly. And but I feel like the confrontation was over the phone, but I might not be remembering that accurately. It was there was so much stuff coming out in those very early days that it was
Yes.
really hard to remember, who all was saying what and when.
Yeah, that's how I am. And then we're looking at cases every day, and trying to take in so much information. Sometimes it's kind of hard to keep track after
Mhm.
this long. Okay, so on September 14th, 2021, with full knowledge that Gabrielle Petito had been murdered by their son, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie, through their lawyers, issued the following statement. It is our understanding that a search has been organized for Miss Petito in or near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. On behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family.
That seems especially cruel.
It does, especially the way they have it laid out, where you can, you know, under with full knowledge that she had been murdered, they wrote, and they did, then, it wasn't a mistake that at the end they hoped she was reunited with her family, as in,
Right.
like, she's still alive.
Correct.
Okay, I guess if you want to interrupt me, though, just interrupt me.
No,
I'll
you're
keep
good.
going. Okay. On September 16th, 2021, attorney Richard Stafford, on behalf of Gabrielle Petito's family, issued a letter to Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie as follows. We are writing this letter to ask you to help find our beautiful daughter. We understand you are going through a difficult time and your instinct to protect your son is strong. We ask you to put yourselves in our shoes. We haven't been able to sleep or eat, and our lives are falling apart. We believe you know the location of where Brian left Gabby. We beg you tell us, as a parent, how could you let us go through this pain and not help us? As a parent, how can you put Gabby's younger brothers and sisters through this? Gabby lived with you for over a year. She was going to be your daughter in law. How can you keep her location hidden? You were both at Jim and Nicole's house. You were both so happy that Brian and Gabby got engaged and were planning to spend their lives together. Please, if you or your family have any decency left, please tell us where Gabby is located. Tell us if we are even looking in the right place. All we want is Gabby to come home. Please help us make that happen.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
That's
that's
hard.
yeah,
That's hard.
pitiful.
That's hard.
Despite the fact that Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt implored Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie to tell them if their daughter was alive and if she was not, where her remains were located, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie refused to respond to either Joseph and Nicole or law enforcement. Uh-oh. And then the next one's down here. What would you do?
Oh, I said this back then, and I still I say it today. I would like to sit here and tell everybody that I would do the morally correct thing, which would be to tell. But at the same time, I those are my children.
Yeah,
And if I'm being honest, I would not do anything to aid and abet them. I would never destroy evidence, lie, or hide anything. But I would I would do probably what they did. I would use my right not to speak. I would
yeah.
assert my right not to speak. I
See
would.
that? I
I would
think
encourage my child, if it were them, if they did it and I knew that they did it, I would encourage my child to tell the truth. But
exactly. Yes.
I don't think I could ever snitch on my child, and I think I'm just being honest.
Well, I appreciate your honesty. I think a lot of people are too scared to say that. And I kind of agree with you. I wouldn't snitch on them either. I wouldn't just like be like, "Okay, cops, he's in his room now. You can come get him." But I would for sure try to explain to my child that we have to pay for what we do. What we do in life, we have to be held accountable for it. And I hope that I teach them that as they grow, and I think that I would try to push them to do the right thing themselves. Uh, but I honestly don't know. What do you like if you haven't been in that situation?
Exactly. I This is my thing. I hope that I'm never in that situation. I hope I never have to wonder what I would do. But as I sit here talking to all of you guys today, I can't imagine the position that as a parent that puts you in, between
Yeah.
protect at the end of the day, it's still your child. And I just I don't know what I would do.
And then to have the whole world like, and at first the protesting I was okay with, because I'm all for protesting. I think that that's something that it's awesome if you want
Mhm.
to do that. And but then I think it got to a point where it was just straight up cruel. I mean, the dad, think about it, these parents were grieving their son too. They were afraid that he wasn't alive out there, and they were right. And the dad's mowing grass, and to have somebody in his ear walking back and forth across the lawn like, your son's a murderer, Gabby, what all the stuff they were saying, it became so cruel. It felt like just wrong to me. I don't know, I didn't like
Yeah. Well, I think I under listen, this is this was the conundrum for me, and I I think everyone's rights should be respected. I think Gabby's right to life should have been respected. I think that the laundry's right to remain silent should have been respected. But I also think that the protesters' right to protest should be respected. But I also think that the people in the neighborhood where the protesting was taking place, their rights should be respected as well.
yes.
I don't think that there was ever that there was just no easy answers in this case, and it was a no-win situation really for everybody. But at the end of the day, the protesting didn't do anything. It didn't change one iota, and I
No.
never could figure out what the point of it was. They were not the only people that ended up caving was his sister, and that's it. And even
And
then, you know.
I don't believe they did. She did because of protesting. I think because she came out there in the dress she was wearing in that GMA interview. I bet
Mhm.
she already had it planned to do the interview, and she was like, "Let's get these people out of here since I'm going to be speaking out anyways."
Right. I feel like she was not trying to I think she didn't want to do the Good Morning America interview with somebody screaming
Yeah.
obscenities outside of her door. And the thing of it is I don't know. That was that whole situation was just so difficult, and I'm trying really hard not to be judgmental of anybody in this situation because it's an incredibly
Yeah.
difficult situation to be in.
And I love that you're like that. I think you bring a lot of almost like reality back into, because we can sit back and judge the parents, judge the protesters, and you almost bring a little bit of reality back into the picture, because we really don't know what we would do in any of these positions, and all
Mhm.
of them are tough.
Exactly. There were no easy answers for anybody. But one thing I will say is I understood why the protesters were doing what they were doing. And they were exercising their rights, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, um, the laundries had lawyered up. And there was no magical combination of words, either whispered or screamed or yelled through a bullhorn, that were going to make those parents talk. They were going to if they were going to talk only if they were made to talk. And yelling at them wasn't going to make them talk. It would have had to come from the lawyers. Hey, do you care if I come in on my phone real quick?
No, that's okay.
Okay, I'm going to come in on my phone real quick.
Okay. See.
Oh, I
Oh,
got to
I can
open
get off.
Chrome.
um I can see y'all's comments now for a minute.
Yeah, see, you can move your tab and you can watch the
That's so
chat. That's
cool.
why I like that, because, like, when I do like I play the trial footage from the Ezra
Yes.
McCandless trial. If I were just to share my screen the regular way, I wouldn't be able to see what the chat was saying. I would miss my comments.
Oh, that is so cool.
I'm
Yeah, awesome.
I'm
So now I can.
clever sometimes, y'all. All right, I'm gonna come in on my phone. Give me just a sec.
Okay. Oh, here we go. I'm going to remove your other one, okay? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. It's always muted when I come in on my phone. Sorry. I always do that.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And
I hope I'm not offending anybody. I can't really see chat, but I hope I'm not offending anybody in chat. I just don't know what I would do. I would like to sit up here and say, oh, I would 100% do the absolute 100% moral right thing to do, but I don't know if I could because it's my child. If it was anybody else in the world, I would do the 100% moral thing, but my child is different.
yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think you're offending anybody. I think that you really kind of, how could you? Because you're being fair, I believe, in all aspects. It did become a witch hunt. I think at the end it got kind of hard because at first I was kind of cheering him on. Um,
I thought it
at
got
the
too
end,
extra when Brian was found and they were screaming at his mother that that's what she gets.
that I know that's the part where I was like, no, 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 this is too far. He's been found, and you guys go back there and continue to protest. Come on. That Can you imagine what those parents were going through? Janelle says, "No, I love your honesty." Nikki Rex says, "No, at Jen Lu. You're right. We don't know." See?
Well, good. I'm glad because I don't ever want to do that. I just, and I would know if somebody was in that position and they decided that they were going to tell law enforcement what they knew about their child, I wouldn't judge them for that either.
Yeah.
I'm just not a judgy person like that. I mean, I can
Well,
be judgmental about other stuff, but not stuff like this. I don't know, for whatever reason. I just don't. I can I can
well,
see
we
both
don't.
sides.
Yeah, that's and you don't know. I mean, imagine the emotional toll all of these people. This has put on all of these people.
Yeah,
All of them, both parents. You know, all the people surrounding them. Even honestly, the lawyers and stuff.
yeah. This was a difficult case, and there were no easy answers for sure. This was a hard case for everybody involved, I think.
I would have lost my mind if someone screamed at me like that the day my child's body was found. I know. That's pitiful. That breaks my heart even thinking about it.
I mean, I will say this. I did make a couple of. I have dark humor, guys. I can't help it. I did say that if it were me and they were out in front of my home protesting like that, each day they were out there, I would have unleashed one of the seven plagues of Egypt on the protesters. I would have started, it would have been like that because that's my home, you know.
Yeah.
And Brian, and this is the other thing, he he left his parents holding the bag. He really did, in every sense of the word. He left
Yeah.
them holding the bag, whether they knew or not.
Yeah, and I can't imagine if he would have been alive watching what they were going through, how he could stay hidden. Because I
Hmm.
could not let my parents go through anything like that for me,
No,
for
I couldn't
any
either.
reason.
I couldn't either. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like he was not alive.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's see what else. This is, I think, like the last page, and then we'll just chat
Okay.
some more.
Okay.
Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie instructed that all contacts were to be made through their attorney, Stephen P. Bertolino, and he issued no comment when asked about Gabrielle Petito's well being. While Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt were desperately searching for information concerning their daughter, Christopher and Roberta were keeping the whereabouts of Brian secret, and it is believed were making arrangements for him to leave the country. I want to know what they have that makes them think that.
I do too, because that's a that's I want to know how they intend to prove that Brian told them something. That is a very difficult look. We've all seen the drams that has gone on social media since the beginning of social media, right? When people show screenshots and stuff like that, right? And you will have two people looking at the same screenshot and come away with completely different viewpoints of what that conversation was. So
Yep.
I am very curious to know how I'm not saying that they don't have the proof. I'm just curious what the proof would be, how they intend to prove that they knew something, how they intend to prove that Brian told them that. There's got to be something we don't know about, something they were shown that we weren't shown. For them to make that allegation. But that's what I think.
Do you think it could be them, the fact that they hired the lawyer on that specific day? Or, I mean, how would they, shoot, the lawyer wasn't paid for 4 days or 5 days actually. So couldn't be that. I
Yeah,
don't know. That's a good point though. I would like
I
to see that
think
too.
I think what they are I'm it's different. Okay, knowing and proving are two different things. But this is civil, so it's even more different. But I would think that they must have something that we don't know about, obviously. Otherwise, if we knew about it, we wouldn't be sitting here saying, I don't know. We would just say what it was. But but also I feel like um I think that their thinking is that of parents, which is parents do know when their kids are up to no good. Now they might not know exactly what no good they're specifically up to. Sometimes as a parent you have to give your kid a little enough rope where you can catch them, right?
Yeah.
So but I think their thinking is how is it possible that Brian flew out there with the intent to drive back with Gabby and he arrived back alone and there was nothing said. Now, his that is very different than Brian expressly telling his parents what happened.
Yeah.
I actually think that he didn't tell them exactly what happened. I think he said something very vague, like I made a mistake, something. I don't think that they knew because I just I don't think that they knew, and I because I honestly don't think Brian was I don't think he would I don't think he would admit to it. You know what I mean, to
You
his
don't think he
parents.
had the guts to tell him, which I
I
don't.
don't think he did either. No,
I
I don't.
agree.
I
Yeah.
don't.
Because I totally agree. And all he had to say was, like you said, I've made a mistake. I'm on my way back. Gabby's not coming with me. Or anything vague like that. And then if they saw maybe severe emotional changes in him or behavioral changes,
Yes.
along with this statement, then, they could put two and two together.
Right.
Okay, so Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie knew of the mental suffering and anguish of Joseph and Nicole and knew that they could alleviate, at least in part, such mental suffering and anguish by disclosing what they knew about the well being and the location of the remains of Gabrielle Petito. Yet they repeatedly refused to do so. In doing this, Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie acted with malice or great indifference to the rights of Joseph and Nicole. Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie exhibited extreme and outrageous conduct, which constitutes behavior under the circumstances which goes beyond all possible bounds of decency and is regarded as shocking, atrocious, and utterly intolerable in a civilized community. As a direct and proximate
Yikes.
result, yeah,
Talking about that's some legal reading for filth.
yeah, for real. As a direct and proximate result of the willfulness and maliciousness of Christopher and Roberta, Joseph and Nicole had been caused to suffer pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, loss of capacity for enjoyment of life experienced in the past and to be experienced in the future. Wherefore, Joseph and Nicole respectfully request this honorable court enter judgment in their favor and against the defendant. Let's see. Oops. 1 second. Christopher and Roberta and award to them just compensation for the damages they have suffered, together with cost and such other relief as the honorable court deems just and appropriate. Okay, so now we can chat for a second about it, and I'll remove that.
Okay. I hope you guys didn't hear my husband burp. I walked through the living. I walked in the door. He was in the kitchen burping. So I hope you all didn't hear that. And if you did, let me say excuse me on his behalf. It's
I didn't
pizza
hear it.
night. Okay, good. Well, now everybody knows my husband burps.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
If Brian's parents knew he did it and the police could prove that, they'd be in jail. No? I've
No,
wondered about that too.
the answer is no. Okay. Florida, there's no statute in Florida that requires a parent to uh, turn their children in for a crime. That's, but that's it. Okay. Anything beyond that, and I'll give you a prime example because this is also a Florida case. Aiden Fauci's mother.
Okay.
Okay. If she didn't, if she, what she did is different. When she washed those jeans of
Mhm.
his, she laundered. She what did you call what is that called? Something evidence on the tip of my tongue. She destroyed evidence. That's different. If all they did was know and they exercised their right to remain silent, then no, they wouldn't be in trouble. And but if they did anything beyond that, then they would be in trouble. And honestly, what they could get them on is more than likely, I think, best case scenario. The very best case scenario would be accessory after the fact, but that would be very difficult since her body was in Grand Teton, and
Yeah.
everything they would have done would have been in Florida. And see, that's the deal. Because they never left the state of Florida, if anybody was going to do anything to them, it would be Florida.
Oh,
And
okay.
they're
So
the ones that have the jurisdiction over that.
do you remember there was rumors that he went out with, hey Rena, he went out with his mom to get a boat, or they went to a boat store or something like that. Let's say they purchased, let's say they put $20,000 in a bank account with his name on it and were going to help purchase a way for him out of the country like they're alleging. Would that be an accessory after the
Yeah,
fact?
well, that would definitely be, well, no, that would be aiding and abetting,
Oh, okay.
and probably obstruction of justice. So that part
Hmm.
of that would be those acts would rise to criminal and be chargeable. And see, this is what I actually think is going on with this lawsuit. I believe that they're suing for like $100,000. And if you think about that in the scheme of things, it's really not that much money. They could be asking for a whole lot more. I think I think the purpose of this lawsuit is to get them in to a deposition, because I think that I think this is I think part of it is that they want to know if they did do anything to aid and abet their son and therefore could face criminal charges. And I think that for them, the other part of it is, I think that they want an acknowledgement from the Laundrie family
Yeah.
what their son did, and that Gabby's life not only meant something to her friends and family, but meant something to the Laundrie family as well. I think
Yep,
that's
and
what
I
they
bet
want.
you're right. I bet you they want them in a deposition and they want to see if it's possible that they face charges, and if not, they just want some form of justice, some form of it. Like they want
Mm-hmm.
it to be recognized.
I think
Um,
they want an acknowledgement, because at the end of the day, nothing is going to bring Gabby back. And even if Brian had not self-harmed and he had gone to trial and he had been convicted, nothing would have brought Gabby back. Nothing would change. Um, but when with that set of circumstances, it would have been a measure of justice and an acknowledgement of what he did, because there
yep,
would have been a trial, and he didn't, and they didn't get that. And not only did they not get that, his his family hasn't said anything at all, period. They haven't apologized, they've said nothing, which
yep,
there is part of me that understands why they don't say anything, because what could they really say, I think, is their thinking. But at the same time, that's the part I don't understand. After they found that Brian was no longer alive, that's why I don't understand
why they wouldn't reach out
Yeah,
to her family, period. Just
I
as
would
two
too.
parents that both families are grieving.
Yep. I would reach out to him too. That's what I would do. Now, I do want to hear your opinion on two comments that I think are really good. First,
Okay.
I want to say hello to CYs and welcome. They said it's their first time here. And Janelle, enjoy
Oh,
your dinner. Okay, first one is Brian looked like he was having a good time on that camping trip with his parents, sister, and nephews. There are photos of him laughing and having fun with his nephews. And I've seen those. And I know you've seen them. What do you think about that?
I think that human beings have an incredible capacity to compartmentalize, and even when you think about yourself. Now, I'm not obviously unaliving somebody, particularly somebody that you love, is not. Hopefully, nobody in this chat has that experience, and if you do, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Don't be admitting to no crimes on the internet. Okay, uh, get a lawyer. That's what I would tell you to do. Anyway, but we've all been have had things happen in our lives, right, that are incredibly tragic. Let's say, for example, a funeral. You know that when you're at a funeral, obviously the funeral is very solemn, but there's the after the funeral when everybody goes back to the house, and there are moments of levity. There are moments of laughter, and there are moments of joy, because that's how human beings operate. We can't, we can, we're still in the grief process, but we can also compartmentalize. And if it's something, if somebody tells a joke or a funny memory, we will laugh because we're human. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what we saw.
Yeah, and kids could probably bring that out of you the easiest, like playing with your nephews or something like that. Maybe he was just trying to, maybe he knew what he was going to do.
Oh, I think he absolutely, that's, see, this is the other thing. So they say that when somebody, like if you know somebody that's all the time depressed, and they suddenly switch and they're completely happy, that is a sign of a possible upcoming self-harm,
Wow.
because they've made peace with what they've decided to do. And that
Yeah.
is probably a part of exactly what was going on with Brian, is that he knew what he was going to do, and this was his way of saying goodbye, and he wanted more than anything that last happy memory for his entire family, because was well aware of what was about to come down on that family.
Oh,
There's hardly anybody that's over 21 that has not seen something, some true crime, not watched ID or not watched Oxygen, you know what I'm saying? Or had a parent who did. My kids grew up with me watching the ID channel and Oxygen and all the things, you know what I'm saying? So I
oh, that
think
is so
that
sad.
I think that's probably what he was doing. I think it was a goodbye.
Oh, that is just heartbreaking for those babies, and because think about it,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to affect them too.
It
Um,
will.
Pitiful. Okay. The other comment I wanted your opinion on. Who said Kate said she is glued to us right now, which is so awesome. That is so cool to hear.
Yay! Thank you.
Um, w- Wicked West Paranormal says, I want to know where Brian's 20K came from. And I do too. What do you think about that? Do
That's
you think they,
something that I hadn't heard about. See, there was a period where it got to be too much for yours truly, and there was so much craziness going on and so many rumors that I had to switch it off, and I didn't watch. So I didn't know anything about this 20K.
okay, so, Mod Squad, you are hilarious. She said, I've never unalived a human or animal. Insects, yes. Once a squirrel, and I cried. So after Brian was found and everything settled down, there was news that came out. It was all across like mainstream. That his parents had filed to get $20,000 out of a bank account in Brian's name. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast so I can show you. I bet I
Okay.
can find it really quick.
So Brian had an account in his name that had 20 grand in it.
Yep. Brian Laundrie. And which we know that he probably spent her money off her card to make it look like she
Yeah. No, I think that was also part of the ruse. And I'm curious as to what type of account this was, because you can, it won't ever be me unless I won the lottery or something like that. I don't have like 10 grand that I can give away, but you can give your kids or anybody 10 grand as a gift, and neither one of you pay a penalty.
Okay, well, let me see if this says it, because there's so many articles out about this thing. I
Okay.
don't.
Okay.
I'll stop
Like
this.
it could have been a college fund. It could have been a lot of stuff.
Share screen. Microsoft. I'm gonna share my tab like you taught me, which is so cool. Okay, so Brian Laundrie had $20,000 in his bank account despite spending $1,000, and this is the Sun, but this was all over many news sites.
Okay. Okay.
Let me see. They mentioned the $1,000, but it has emerged Laundrie had $20,000 in the bank. As he didn't have a will, an expert explained in a previous interview with The Sun that his dad, Chris, and mom, Roberta, had to go through the courts in a technical but common procedure in Florida. According to the court records obtained by Radar, Chris and Roberta filed a petition in Sarasota County on December 8th. The couple are asking to become administrators of his estate. The records show they submitted Brian's death certificate in court along with information about his bank accounts and property. So I guess that's the indictment. So I guess it was just them filing to get his. I wish I could find another article on it. But yeah, they had to file to become let me see if I search Brian Laundrie estate, if I can get a more
So they
reputable.
had to manage his estate, and he had 20 grand in the bank.
Yeah.
So
here's from MSN.
That's so weird because it did seem like a lot of, because I remember very distinctly her talking to the cops in Salt Lake. And it seemed like from her perspective, bless her sweet little heart, and she was a sweet girl, that their arguing stemmed from close living quarters and a lack of money. And if he had 20 grand in the bank,
yes, her dad had
why
to
were
send her
they
money.
why were they sweating money so badly? I'm curious as to what the deal. There has to be some type. Either he was just, even more of an a-hole than we thought, right? Or there's some type of something that with that account that he wasn't allowed to use it.
Yeah, which is possible, like until a certain age or something like that.
Yeah. Or like it was more of a savings account, or it came from, some kind of like IRA or some investment or something that if he took money out, he'd be penalized for it. I don't know, because if I had 20 grand sitting in the bank, I would not be like, bugging out about money.
Yeah, and they were, even Gabby's dad said he had to send money a couple times, and they definitely were having money issues. So right here, MSN says court documents related to the petition are confidential and not currently part of public record. Laundrie's assets are listed as $20,000 in Bank of America checking savings accounts, according to the Northport Sun. There were no creditors or debt listed as part of his estate.
Well, I see in the chat that let me see, where was it? Wicked West Paranormal asked, but when was the money put in his account? And that is a very astute and excellent question. When did that money get there, and who put it there? And believe you me, there is a paper trail. But this is the other thing I've always thought was interesting about all of this, way before Brian was ever even found. When they handed down an indictment, he was indicted really for basically credit card theft, not her death. And I always wondered about that. Now I understand that I mean, you can charge somebody and take the charges back if you don't think that you can convict them, right? But because you only get one bite at the apple when it's a trial, charges are different. You can be charged 11 billion times with um, murder, but you only be convicted, once. You know what I'm saying?
Tried one
For
time.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
tried one time. Thank you. That's a much better way to put it. Which is the right way to put it, actually. Not better, it's the correct way. So yeah, I always wondered what the FBI was waiting on. I'm curious about that because I know the reason they took over the case was because it spanned several states. Obviously, the murder occurred in one state, but he traveled and committed other crimes in another state, which would be the credit card theft, right?
Yeah.
And then likely he probably cleaned the van real well because the van was there, right? So that would be another charge, probably destroying evidence, et cetera, et cetera. Those are other charges that would have been added on, but hadn't charged him with murder yet. And I'm wondering if they only held back that charge in order to, if he was running, to get him to come back. But I just don't
Yeah.
feel like that would have been I don't think he was, I don't think that, I don't know, maybe they were going to have it as a bargaining chip. I can't figure it out because it doesn't make any sense to me. Because if
Yeah.
you're
Why?
running, you're running. Why would you be like, oh, I was only running because I thought you wanted me for murder. But if it's just credit card theft, oh, no problem. I'm on the next boat. Here I
Yeah.
come, on the way. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just never made sense to me.
It doesn't. But you're exactly right. I don't know. It was like 6 weeks before they found him. Why didn't they put out a murder charge? No one else was with her. It's very obvious that it was him. I don't
No,
see.
yeah. Wicked West, no, those charges, that indictment came after her body was found
I'm
for the
so
credit
sorry to
card
hear that,
theft.
small town.
Oh, what happened? Whatever it
She
is, I'm sorry too.
she says my daughter's boyfriend's sister, Michaela McVilla, was murdered here in New York.
Oh,
So this hits close to
oh,
home, but her murder was a stranger.
oh, that's
She was
sad.
21.
Oh, that's sad. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, I'm like 93% sure that the indictment came for the credit card theft after her body was found.
I cannot even remember back to that far.
It had to have been afterwards because up until her body was found, she was considered a missing person.
Yeah, and well, let's see. I think it was like, wasn't it very close together though? Within like,
Yeah, I feel like her body was found, and then maybe a week later, 3 or 4, somewhere between 3 and 7 days is when there was an indictment.
yep. And everyone was like, "Why isn't it for murder? Why isn't it for
Yes,
murder?"
yes, yeah. Because I remember distinctly, like, why are they charging him with credit card theft? Which they should charge him for credit card theft, but because he did commit credit card theft. But I never understood why that was the only thing he was indicted for.
Well, another interesting thing is they removed all the rock out. They moved like several feet of rock out of one of those creeks, and then we have they said that there was like two crime scenes where it happened and then where she was found.
Right.
I'm curious of why what the blunt force trauma to the head and neck, and why they removed that rock. Was it that brutal? Did he just completely lose his mind? And I don't know. I wish that we had the details of some of that, just because my mind is really curious. Um,
But I think once you know, see, there's some things about the autopsies that once you know, you can never unknow, and it messes with you. So sometimes, like, you know what they say, curiosity killed the cat, but they say satisfaction brought it back. So who knows?
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
that's
feel like,
like,
I don't know.
if you there's a couple case I covered actually in New York, Bianca Devins. Have you heard of her?
I have, yes.
And the photos of it are online. He posted it online, and once you see those,
Yeah.
it's really hard to unsee. Or because her just a look, I can not get the look on her face out of my head still. Or like Kendrick Johnson, any autopsy photos, some of that stuff, you're right, once you see it, you're never going to forget it ever.
I don't know how many people know this. I've talked about it before, but I worked at the same daycare that Amber Hagerman went to. Now, I was not her teacher. She was in the after school program, and I worked with the 3-year-olds. But as a because she was there for such a long time, and everybody there, I was pregnant at the time, and so I was pregnant when she went there. I had my son in November, and of course everything happened to her in January. But so I had taken off maternity leave. I don't I don't ever remember interacting with her, but we all went to her wake. And I will never, ever, ever forget seeing that. And you know what else I'll never forget? I will never, ever forget seeing her mom at that abandoned Winn-Dixie store parking lot. She sat where the trucks would come, out where they bring in the trucks to unload like the food and stuff. And I will never forget how her mom looked, and I will never forget how Amber looked in her casket. It was so sad.
Oh my gosh. See, I Googled it just now while you were talking so I could know what you're talking about. She was a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was she on Unsolved Mysteries?
I can't remember if they did an episode of Unsolved Mysteries because her death is not solved. Now, Arlington is kind of a big town, but it's not all that big. So there were rumors going around that the police did know who did it. And as they were closing in, he turned off all of he let the gas fill up his home, and he caused an explosion. And he unalived himself. And he almost took out other people. It was really fortunate that he didn't. But I always heard that is who they suspected committed her murder. But she's why we have an Amber Alert. Her mom did that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why it's called Amber. That is so sad. And that's so crazy that you remember it in that detail still to this day.
I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. I was almost 19 when it happened, or I feel like I know it was in January. The only thing that I really distinctly can remember is what I wore, number one, and number two, I had this incredibly bad headache all day. And then we had the wake afterwards, and I couldn't, it was all sad. So then I started crying, right? Because you do cry, it's sad. And my headache was worse. But I feel like, I think it was before I turned 19. So I think I was, because my birthday is January 28th, and I think it was before I turned 19. It was either right before or right after.
That's kind of traumatizing to you even, really.
Mm-hmm. It stays with you, those kind of things. And then, everybody knows I talk ridiculously a lot about the West Memphis 3 case. I have seen those autopsy and crime scene photos. I wish I never had.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
My little guy woke up and he,
aww,
hi buddy. So I pulled up that arrest warrant just to get the date of it, and it was filed on the 22nd of November or September. So it was filed 4 days after she was found.
That's right. So I was we're playing by the Price is Right rules. I said between 3 and 7 days. So I didn't overbid.
That's funny. You are hilarious. And you know what? I'm probably going to have to go since he's up, but I do want to say I am so thankful. Now I'm in the bathroom. I bet I'm echoing, but I am so thankful that you came on here today. What the heck? How did I oh my God.
You've added both of mine to the stream.
I'm sorry.
I can't fix you. There you go.
I meant to remove the screen share and removed you. I'm so thankful that you came on here. I absolutely adore you. I find you so easy to talk to. It's like I've known you a million years. And I hope that you'll come back to so we can pick your brain about other cases, because you're so smart.
Oh, thank you. I'm smart
funny,
sometimes. Thank you.
the
Thank you.
whole
Thank you.
package.
Thank you. I try. I try. I
I'm
try.
serious though. I'm not just saying that. I find you hilarious and also really intelligent. You know what you're talking about. So yeah, I so
Well,
appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you guys in the chat being awesome. And please go support her channel. Go subscribe and all of that, because I do think you'll really like it there too. Yeah.
yeah, tonight I'm covering the Ezra McCandless case. It's an older, it's already, it's been resolved, but I have a segment I call Notes from the Jury Box, where we watch trial coverage and approach it as if we were on the jury. I started doing it with Chandler Halderson, and then I did Todd Mullis, and now I'm doing Ezra McCandless. You should come and check it out, Alex, because I'm doing part 2 of Ezra's ex-boyfriend, Jason Mengel. It's his testimony. And y'all, not only is the testimony that he gives explosive, it's super dramatic, because she and him are exchanging looks. She's at the defense table, and obviously he's on the stand, and you have to watch. It's
Oh, I'll come
fascinating.
over. What
Yeah, you
time
should.
tonight?
I'm going to do it at 9 Eastern.
Okay, awesome. That'll
So
be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. And I was on a roll last night. Had some commentary over his testimony. We call Jason Mengel medic Jason Mengel Roger, because instead of he's in the military, and he's a medic, and he reminds everybody on the stand of that like 37 times. But instead of answering yes, he answers Roger, and it's kind of
Oh
annoying.
my
I'm not even
goodness.
going to lie, because it's real pretentious, right?
Yes.
And so it's plus. Let me give you another spoiler. He thought that Ezra was cheating on him. Let me tell you what Homeboy did. He screenshot her iPod. She didn't have a phone. She used an iPod, and she used like a texting app. He screenshot it, and then there's more. Made a whole timeline, y'all. That's my kind of guy. That is a level of petty that I would be if I thought somebody was cheating on me. I would be running background checks, fingerprints, screenshotting, yeah, screen
Oh my goodness.
recording, stalking social media, yeah, all the things. You guys got to come and check it out at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight. I will be
Roger.
live.
Yeah,
All
Roger
right,
that.
Roger. So I'm going to start answering yes to everybody from now on. I'm going to be like, Roger. Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, awesome. I'll be there to check it out, and then I'll talk to you about maybe another case we can do on here soon. I would love that, because this was so much fun.
Absolutely.
Time
Anytime, it
flew.
was fun for me. It did. It really did. Time flew for me too. Thank you so much for having me. You are wonderful. It was a great conversation. Your chat is always so welcoming, and you guys are all really cool. I just love talking about true crime. I could do it all day,
Me
which I have
too.
tonight. I will.
Well, I kind of do. Yeah. So, all right. Well, awesome. Make some noon 30 lives, Jen.
I
Then
need to. I need to make some noon 30 lives. I go too late sometimes, and I need to do some noon 30 ones for sure.
hey, JH. Okay, well, awesome. Well, I'll see you guys tonight at 9. I love you all. Thank you again, Jen. And yeah, I guess I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
let you guys go. It's very
All
awkward ending
right.
these
It
lives, so
is. It is awkward. I just end mine like this. Okay, bye, and then hit end.
okay.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, you guys. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, chat. Thank you.